Amidst an exciting playoff chase for the month of October, the Integrity Octane Series will be racing with a purpose. The round of 8 has special names for each and every race in the remainder of the season. As we wind down to find our final 4 competitors for the season finale, we will be racing with a cause. This is the Racing for Breast Cancer 200 from the Kentucky Speedway, and 2 minutes and 30 seconds remain on the qualifying charts. As it stands, the number 9 machine of Seth Noel finds himself the top man on the board by 93 thousandths of a second. 12 drivers have taken the time, and now 17 drivers have registered for the session. After a thrilling conclusion to the round of 12, the playoff battle has gotten even closer. The best of the best have moved on, and now it's time to find out which of the 4 drivers who are under the cut line currently will make it up, and which will stay behind the final elimination bracket. It's going to be another great race here with the intermediate circuit in mind. Kentucky with its own one and only trip on the schedule this year, and it's hoping not to disappoint. Got another great field of drivers. Most of your playoff drivers, if not all of them, have registered already. The 8 remaining will be fighting with all that's left on the schedule just about 4 full races, including tonight, so it's very little time to make a championship charge and claim that next level racing grand prize at the end of the tour. With qualifying still on the way, we're moments away from the racing getting on the move, and I'll be guiding you through all the action here in Kentucky. David Kreutz commentating and producing tonight's event. It's a doubleheader on FTN. I'll be broadcasting the Integrity Octane Series, and River Page will bring you all the action in the Culture Designs Truck Series as they'll be heading to the Magic Mile, Loudon, New Hampshire. That's sure to be another exciting race as well, with the Magic Mile 75 starting live at 9:30 Eastern. FTN doubleheader, 2 very well-known stock car tracks, ovals, and they've been used decades long. The Magic Mile still has use to this day. But unlike the Magic Mile in New Hampshire, Kentucky Speedway is only seen in the virtual racing world, has not been used in stock car competition for just under 5 years now, and has not returned ever since the COVID-19 pandemic. Here in iRacing, that's no issue. A laser-scanned rendition of the track allows drivers to take the track on as if it's the real world, and we're watching right now the number 2 machine of Sam Nito, who finds himself 10th on the order. Tom Wetmore is now going to be 14th and last of those drivers with a time lapse so far. Not a good qualifying effort for Wetmore, who's been oh so controlling of the season so far. He'll be starting at the back of the field as we see the number 9 machine of Seth Well set to start at the front. Qualifying has concluded, and the number 9 machine of Seth Well will be your pole sitter by 93 one-thousandths of a second, and track position is the best place to start to, of course, start a new round of the playoffs. First pole position will be for the number 9, and Nicholas Ward will be on the front row as well. 5 extra minutes of practice here. Your warm-up session already going to be on the move, so drivers taking some extra time on the track, getting those extra practice laps in. We'll see who benefits the most from it here. Hoping to see some big swings for a qualifying order. A lot of drivers we expected to see up in front, namely, of course, we see Tom Wetmore, 15th and last of those who took a time. He's looking to jump back up in front, and now it's going to be all about finding those final precise adjustments. If you can make a difference before the race, it could be make or break as drivers roll off pit road this time by. So already the field going to be back in motion for a few extra practice laps, but now the qualifying is set. We know who will be starting where and what it's going to take for them to claw up to the front of the field. 134 laps in store here in the Kentucky Speedway, and without further ado, let's take a look at your starting grid for tonight's event. This is the Racing for Breast Cancer 200 and the first round of the round of 8. The playoff battle has gotten tight, and the number 9 machine of Seth Well has separated himself as a top competitor. 30.885 for the man who will start inside of row number 1. Pole position for Seth as he finds himself right beside a playoff spoiler, still looking for his first win of the season. Nicholas Ward, oh so close to getting it done at Bristol, finds himself starting second tonight in Kentucky. 30.978 for the driver, that 97 ahead of defending winner Don Stevenson, and Stevenson with a walk-off victory in the round of 12 moves on with a 39.81, putting him back inside the podium to start tonight's event. Right beside him will be Cody Smith in the 4th position, 31.003 for the round of 12 exit. machine. Next Level Racing representing Cody Smith, and his chances of going back-to-back in championships this year will not be possible. Caitlin Height will round out the top 5. She put together a fantastic performance at Talladega, backed it up with a podium at Charlotte, and now she'll be starting inside the top 5, row number 3. She's inside of it, 31.01. Next to Colin Gidman in the 04 machine, returning with a 31.025 on the timing sheet. Alan Dobbs going to be starting in the 7th spot right beside Jacob Fife. Those two drivers separate by only about 20 thousandths of a second on the timing board, and Ross Cato is going to be position number 9 with Sam Nito rounding out your top 10, 31.137 for the number 2 machine, looking to find himself back in victory lane. Ross Cato still chasing his first. Then when you look further back, this is going to be where most of your drivers not in the playoffs will be. Eric McFarland going to be starting in 11th right beside Guillermo Alvarez, who did not have a good Charlotte race. That's the reason he finds himself out of the playoffs for the remainder of the season. He'll be starting there in 12th ahead of his teammate in Jorge Canales, the 84, position number 13, and Alan Arawa with a 31.446 will be starting outside of row number 7 in the 14th spot. Tom Wetmore takes the final time lap, 15th and last of those with a time, with Kyle Cooper then in 16th, Randy Fiash then 17th, and to round out the field, John Steele and the number 22. As we see your grid is set here in Kentucky, this is the Racing for Breast Cancer 200, and this is round 27. We've made it so far in the season. Now there's no going back. 30 scheduled races, and we will see our season finale October 24th. It's going to be one to remember here in the Tuesday night tour. It's been a great season to this point. A lot of fierce battles, road course racing, short track, super speedways, all of the above. And we've checked off almost every box before coming to Kentucky here tonight. Might not be one of the more popular tracks in the oval side of racing, but it can still produce some great finishes. As you might remember, the 2019 finish between the Busch brothers of Kurt and Kyle, an iconic showdown which went down to the wire on the final lap. This track can produce those great moments that are oh so fondly remembered by stock car racing fans. And since we got a bit of time here before the racing gets on the way, how's about we take a bit of a track walk here and find out what's going on in Kentucky. Pit road's going to be busy with drivers such as Kyle Cooper lying down low, waiting for the show to get on the road. And as you can see right now, we're at the start-finish line. Let's get on the move as you'll see a driver pass by our camera and get our drone in action here in Kentucky. One of the youngest tracks on the NASCAR circuit, only being open for just under a decade before being put out of service. 2011, the very first race, and well known not only for being such a young circuit, for some of the infrastructure problems. The very first race in 2011 saw a large amount of traffic, so much so that most race fans couldn't get in until about an hour into the race. Very troublesome night as an opener for this track, but since then it was able to rebound and find itself a solid spot inside the NASCAR Tour. Now with the recent plans to move toward the history of stock car racing with tracks such as North Wilkesboro and the still ever-developing Nashville Fairgrounds, tracks like Kentucky, a cookie-cutter type circuit, have been sort of put down behind the top priorities. Now they've been put away. Chicagoland also facing the same treatment, but unlike Chicagoland, Kentucky's characteristics changed vastly in its very short run, eventually finding a repay for a wider circuit, less banking, and its characteristics changing not to the liking of many drivers' opinions, which means as we come through turn 4 right now, these drivers don't get all too much experience at Kentucky, not only of course because an iRacing not using official racing all too often, but as well, it is unlike any other D-shaped oval for some of the most unique characteristics on the entire schedule. A narrow apron, you can still try to use it, less banking than it was originally intended to have, and as you can see as we go up to the virtual crowd, they're still packing the stands no matter what. The iRacing official pace car is already set to move, and the field is in formation. As we now come down to your starting grid, the pace car gets rolling, and so does Seth Well with your starting grid now getting on the way. And as they take a look at the start-finish line, it is now empty. And in its place, you'll see the drivers now making it through turns 1 and 2. 134 laps of racing tonight. Stage break is anticipated to occur at lap number 55. That is your only scheduled caution of the day. And a bit more than what we saw, of course, in the round of 12. A lot of drivers in red as opposed to the earlier weeks of this playoff format. The drivers who are indicated in red on your top ticker are the drivers out of the playoffs. Those who have the color blue highlighting their number are still in the championship running. So keep an eye out for those who are inside the playoff picture, and we might see some spoilers as well. Nicholas Ward, he's up there on the high side, and even though he was not able to make it into the picture with a nearly walk-off victory at Bristol, he still has been very competitive all season long and is just trying to find the perfect race to make it all work. Tonight and this month in October, the Integrity Octane Series will race with a cause in mind, and for the Racing for Breast Cancer 200, Kentucky Speedway will give them the green flag to get the round of 8 underway. 134 laps, 200 miles, and we're green for the first time in the second round of the playoffs. As the drivers come through this time by 2 laps in at 134, going to be now Sethwell up on top. Just like that, leader of the number 9 is going to be, of course, Sethwell. Napa know-how machine getting that experience up in front. Just like that, new man at the top of the board, only to maybe be usurped immediately thereafter. Dropping down to the bottom side, Nicholas Ward finds himself now in the race lead. Just like that, it's going to be Nicholas Ward in the Bill Elliott throwback, taking it up to the top as the Chase Elliott paint scheme is now going to fade back into third. Colin Gidman going to separate the paint scheme family. 04 machine jumping up very big on these first few laps from position number 6 all the way up into the runner-up spot. So some major gains being made from Colin Gidman, and Nicholas Ward already having connection issues. Your race leader, only 3 laps in, is now disconnected. Will this be permanent? We're watching the situation. Nicholas Ward losing connection, and it looks like it is going to be a certainty. The number 97 leads a lap and disconnects immediately thereafter. Heartbreaker again for Nicholas Ward. And it seems like every chance he gets to lead a race, he gets disconnected from hardware issues, and we're trying to find the official cause of his disconnection. No word from iRacing server just yet, but it seems to be a done deal. He's 1 lap down and fades back to 17th. John Steele retires as well. He's now 2 laps down in 18th, leaving 16 drivers left on the pack, and Nicholas Ward now makes it back, and he has damage, which can't be explained by anything we saw. Now Nicholas is back on the way, blinking it out, and he just disconnected due to upload packet loss, so certainly not able to connect to the iRacing server well enough to hold on to the race, which gives Colin Gidman his first chance to lead laps this season. And for one of the worst situations for one driver in the field that might have become the best for another, Colin Gidman is running away from the pack, and it looks like he's taken to Kentucky quite well. Don Stevenson, your defending race winner, now finds himself in the 2nd spot. Sethwell fades back into 3rd once again, with Caitlin Height now in 4th, and she'll be battling Cody Smith in the number 18 as he drops down to the bottom side. Already some major changes in the race. Our top contenders, one of which already disconnecting, one of which running away, and Colin Gidman now has himself far in front, and Stevenson hopes to hold off the rest of the pack. And this is when we get into question all about the strategy here in Texas, or rather Kentucky. Texas we saw a few weeks ago, and we're going to bring that point back up because you don't often see drivers in leagues pertaining to next-gen stock cars going to Texas or Kentucky. So bringing it up from one track to another, there was some difference in the way these circuits drive compared to the typical D-shaped oval. These intermediate tracks, while they might be the same in length, they are different in characteristics, and they'll have to keep an eye out for tire sets. 4 is the limit tonight. They're running a fixed setup, which will be provided by iRacing Motorsport Simulation. It is the official Kentucky setup, so there is no change to how iRacing set this car up, which means it should be good to go no matter how long the distance. But the thing about this is, how do the drivers work at this track? They don't often race at Kentucky. A lot of these drivers not getting all too much experience otherwise, and while there was, of course, the opportunity to get about an hour's worth of practice beforehand, still an hour alone running laps by yourself is different from being inside a pack in a racing environment. Side by side, Cody Smith now going to take it to the third spot. He finds himself getting into the podium places with Seth dropping back yet again. Jacob Fife now finds himself battling for fifth. Caitlin Height's going to be down low. She's still trying to make it work on that bottom side. Hasn't gotten much of it, Jacob Fife hasn't, and he'll stay up there with Tom Wetmore now appearing in the view of the leaders as well. Wetmore, who started in 15th, has been the biggest mover so far, finding himself now inside the top 10 and battling for the top 5 too. Down low on Caitlin Height, he's going to take the number 11 up to the middle of the track. Guillermo Alvarez also putting some speed down to the high side, so multiple grooves already being put into use, and drivers trying to find out which one is best before our lap 55 caution. Now yellow flag going to fall for our one and only stage break on the day, very early in the going, to give drivers the opportunity to reset and understand what they have to do next. This is a trial run of sorts for these drivers, and for Colin Gidman, Don Stevenson, Cody Smith, those who are up in front right now, they're doing a great job in working with what they know so far, but everyone's going to have the same level of experience come that first caution. We've seen countless times before, guys like Wetmore, Seth Well, they can adapt and they can get much more out of that second run as opposed to the first. You don't have to be the fastest before the stage break. You just have to learn the most and understand it well enough to put it into action. It's a learning process here in racing, and with a very competitive field night after night, it's even more accurate to say that you have to be studying up on your tracks. Even if you don't do all the effort before the race, you can learn quite a lot when you're in the hot seat here in the Octane Series. 12 laps instead of 134. Colin Gidman has led all but 2 of them so far, and the 0-4 machine is running away, leading by now 1 second. Last time by, Don Stevenson was faster, and all of a sudden, getting that very first win, going to take the weight off his shoulders, and Stevenson's chasing after another already. It was dominance at the Roval after a first lap incident with Tom Wetmore, able to get away from the situation and find himself with minimal damage. And even though there were other drivers on the same level of pace, nobody had the consistency that Don Stevenson had all night long. Don finds himself in second now, and the first of the playoff spoilers is now going to be Guillermo Alvarez, who finds himself in the third position and puts himself in the back bumper, the number 47, beginning to break away second and third from the rest of your field. Cody Smith going to be down low too. He brings Jacob Fife and Tom Wetmore there. Caitlin Height going to be with Seth Well once again. Looks like Jorge Canales is also making moves, and the 84 goes up to the high side, makes a pass through Seth, and puts himself in 8th. So it looks like the playoff spoiler is going to be firmly in the battle tonight. We already see one inside of our podium and one inside of the second position. The Cornflakes machine no longer. It's going to be Frosted Flakes for Guillermo Alvarez, throwing it back to Kyle Busch. And we're going to see it's a combination of sorts. Cornflakes are actually going to be on the door panel, but only in, of course, the icon. Not going to be word marked for Cornflakes, only frosted on the words, and Tony the Tiger on the hood. So it's going to be working this one out, having the eye of a tiger to make that pass up on the high side, low side. Looks like they're both working quite well, and we've seen that middle groove put into play, but you can see a bit of a grip strip down low that drivers are using to get the best run out of turns 1 and 2. That's been the key to success for a lot of these guys who are running in the pack here. It looks like the Jorge Canales 84 goes up top again to try to make it happen with some momentum, but no other drivers are taking it to that extreme. Everyone else trying to run the exact same line right now, preparing for the later stages of the race. Up high, the 84 remains, so we'll take a look here with Seth Well and Caitlin Height. You'll see how these drivers drop it down low for the most part on the bottom side. Jacob Fife is now trying to develop that second groove as he battles side by side with Tom Wetmore. If Wetmore gets this spot, he'll find himself in the 5th position, meaning he's gained nearly double digits already and might find himself a chance to go for a few more. Cody Smith, Don Stevenson, and even Guillermo Alvarez are all gaining on Colin Gidman, and 17 laps in, the driver who ran away from the field just a few laps ago all of a sudden is fading back. And this has been the one caveat to the speed that Galen's had all season long. It seems like being able to hold on to it in the long run has been the biggest of troubles for this crew. And right now for the 0-4, it's being put into play once again. Might have a lot of short run speed when it comes down to longer distances without cautions. And this has only been 17 laps. This car just does not seem to hang on as well as the rest in the field. Alvarez now a quarter of a second away, finding himself scored in second. And that might change the way things are going. Guillermo's bringing the field with him, and it might be a freight train if they can get by this number 04. Galen Gidman remains the leader, at least for the time being, but things could change as they continue to pounce on your leading driver. Looking for the back, Don Stevenson, Cody Smith also going to be right there, third and fourth respectively. Side-by-side action between Caitlin Height and Seth Well once more. Caitlin goes up top, Seth going to find himself down low, and they're going to be side-by-side at the stripe once again. No decision just yet on who's going to go and who's going to stay. Looks like Seth gets a better run that time through, and Caitlin's going to have to back off just a bit more. Jorge Canales in number 84 remains on the high side here, and he's going to try to hold on with some pressure now. He was using that second groove more than anyone else, but it looks like a few more drivers trying to develop that line, and with that goes the advantage this Chevy Camaro had working with the others. Seth Well now going to take a spot. Caitlin Height might be able to do the same in just a moment's notice. And all of a sudden, the 84 fades back big, while his teammate now faces trouble and some more pressure from Cody Smith and Jacob Fife. Don Stevenson gets back to second spot and is now going to be in the hot pursuit of your leading driver. Catbird seat for Don Stevenson, and he lunges it deep through turns 3 and 4, making a big time on the man up in front, 20 laps instead of 134. And looking off of our windshield perspective, it's going to be, of course, Galen Gidman, still your leading driver, but it is not without a bit of hesitation from the field right now. They're getting closer, but they're still laying back. Don Stevenson making the charge, and the big thing for Don Stevenson right now is not taking too much time. You want to make that pass quick, not only to get it over with, but dirty air is going to affect you big time. These next gens are very aerodynamic machines in comparison to other stock car generations, which means that if you get involved with the dirty air for too long, you're going to shred up your tires, lose that advantage you have on those who are behind or ahead of you all the same. And for Guillermo Alvarez, he's faded back into sixth. He was in hot pursuit of Galen Gidman just a few laps ago, and all of a sudden, it's now going to be Don Stevenson putting on all the work, with Cody Smith trailing him at the same time. So if Don can't get it done, it might be Cody Smith the quickest, but we're going to find out here. Don Stevenson going to try to drop to the bottom side at the start-finish line. Does he lead the lap? Just barely, and your Charlotte Roval winners back in the lead. Don Stevenson is going to have us up in front with the 47, 23 laps in of 134. Stevenson leads it as Galen Gidman then second, and Cody Smith then in third. Seth Well then going to be fourth with Jacob Fife rounding out the top five, and Caitlin Heights then going to be sixth with Guillermo Alvarez seventh, Tom Wetmore eighth, and Alan Dobbs in ninth. Jorge Canales is then in position number 10, and Sam Nito is then in the 11th. 23 laps in of 134, nearly halfway through our first stage already. So far, clean and green. Looks like we're going to see some more drivers pouncing on Galen Gidman down to the bottom side. Gidman going to remain up top. Seth Well makes the move to get into second, clears the 0-4, and he's going to bring Cody Smith and Jacob Fife right there too. Cody drops low, has himself some room, keeps on the bottom side, but cannot get it done. Defense from the driver, that 0-4 machine, and he's able to pull off another block to keep him up there inside the third spot. Nicholas Ward got back on the track, but disconnected immediately thereafter, 21 laps down. Looks like there's not much more he can do on the day, as he's been on pit road for exactly 8 minutes to this point. Eric McFarlane's the final man on the lead lap. He's in 16th right now, 12 seconds back. Sam Nito blinking back and forth with no other troubles in the field as they come through again. Stevenson's got the edge, and Seth Wells now in second with Galen Gidman holding on for third. Caitlin Height and it looks like Cody Smith now going to be battling just beyond the top four. Fifth place battle, going to see the 11 down low and the 18 right up high. 26 laps in of 134. 4. The Racing for Breast Cancer 200 has gotten off to a very clean start. Halfway through our first stage of the day, caution will be coming out at around lap 55, and a familiar face up in front for those who watched last week. Defending winner Don Stevenson finds himself out in front. And for this number 47 team, coming alive when it matters the most, it appears that is the game plan for Stevenson and his team, who have been consistently one of those drivers inside the top 10 every week, but nothing more extra special. They've not been able to rack off a win until last week, of course, not having all too many top 5s and podiums to speak of, just making sure they were in the battle just enough to firmly lock inside the top 12, and then with some misfortune for other drivers missing races like Brad Patton, Caitlin Height also missed a race too but won at Talladega. It was the must-win attitude for Don that got him up there, and he led almost every lap on the night. One driver going to be going down to pit road, this time by Cody Smith, opting to split the stage, comes down to pit road and finds himself now in as the first competitive stop of the night. Eric McFarland went down to pit road, but it looks like he went down very early in the racing, as it looks like he may have started from pit road as opposed to running with those up in front earlier in the going. Stevenson and Seth Well are now going to find themselves battling for the race lead. Don did all the work to get up to the top spot away from Colin Gidman, but it looks like that could be all undone within a matter of laps. Jacob Fife gets up the third. Caitlin Height's going to be splitting Colin Gidman as Gidman remains fourth. Caitlin's still going to be there fifth, but it might not be for much longer as she'll drop down to the bottom side and make that move past another driver getting by Gidman. Colin's going to fall back now into fifth, with Alan Dobbs holding his own then in sixth. As the field comes by lap after lap, looks like no trouble for the drivers getting through this opening stage of the race. And great to see a lot of clean racing to kick this one off. Knowing what's at stake, the top 4 drivers are now all playoff contenders. Then you'll see 7th, 8th, and 10th, Wetmore, Nito, and Ross Cato. And finally, of those who are inside of your playoff picture, it looks like we're not going to see anyone else. 11th on back, all drivers who are not eligible for the championship. So for Seth Well, leading right now, not only ahead of all of his playoff contemporaries, but ahead of the entire field, it's a great feeling. Hoping to get those bonus points, also rack up the race win. It's one step leading to another. So getting the first step out the way and leading these laps in is a huge deal for this team, as it looks like now it's going to be Seth Well gaining some time on Don Stevenson, half a second of which already, and they've only been separate for just about 3 laps. Jacob Fife has some pressure still from Caitlin Height, and Caitlin's going to remain on the back bumper here. Jacob Fife looking for the quarter panel perspective, blocks, and he's going to keep that second groove. The bottom side, Caitlin's going to go to exclusively, trying to make something happen just a bit different, but can't find it that time by, and all of a sudden, Jacob Fife finds himself once again with the advantage in this battle. Defensive driving going to become a norm here in Kentucky, as you can see. The best way to hold off a spot is compromising another line. You see drivers running that second groove about half a lane higher, trying to make sure the drivers below them don't have enough room to go through unless they absolutely make contact intentionally. So if you want to defend, it's best to try to take away a line here in Kentucky. It might not be the cleanest of maneuvers, but if it's no contact, it should be clear in terms of how these drivers race with one another. So far, no contact with anyone. 33 laps in of 134. A clean opening here in the Racing for Breast Cancer 200, and it has been Seth Well leading from Don Stevenson. Stevenson finds himself 0.7 of a second back. Caitlin Height's going to be there. Position number 4. Alan Dobbs is then 5th. Colin Gidman is 6th. And Tom Wetmore is now going to find himself in a battle for 7th. Looks like Sam Nito has it for now, though, in the Tube Tech number 51 that charged up all the way into the top 5 just 10 laps ago. Now going to fade back into 8th. And while starting poorly inside the top 15, last of which is 15th, it has not been the best night regardless. Despite all these gains, Tom Wetmore still has a ways to go. Not the best round of 12 for your winningest driver of the season. 5 wins, and he won the regular season finale at Bristol, but ever since then, just has not been able to put together a solid run, which would be necessary in regards to getting into that Final 4 at the end of the season. The Final 4 is still the end goal, so even if you have those bonus points to cruise cruise off. You can't be slacking each and every race. And for Wetmore, he's had a few runs he'd like to forget. Charlotte Roval looked a good chance to come home with a top 5 or a top 3, but he ended up involved in a very early incident in that race and ended up at the back of the field, clawing almost every position he had back from the end of the field. Tail end all the way up to the top 10. That's what Tom Wetmore needs to avoid right now, knowing that you cannot afford to lose any more time with how the fields have been shaped as of recent. 16 drivers on the track. It looks like Nicholas Ward's going to be the 17th who just got back on the way, and he's 27 laps down, making himself known on the circuit yet again. He's got himself the newest set of tires, so he should be the fastest driver on the track lap after lap, and looks like he is, at least for the time being, making around one of the drivers on the lead lap. That's going to be Jorge Canales. Now Kyle Cooper is going to be his next subject. He'll go down low and make it by easily. 16 drivers on the lead lap, now going to be down to 15 due to Cody Smith taking it to pit road, and of those who are on the lead lap now is 15 of which we're looking at 7 are inside of your playoff picture. So that's how many drivers you have to worry about. Almost half the field is going directly against you, and only half of those inside the round of 8 make it on your season finale round. So you cannot afford to have a bad round behind most of your contenders who are also competing, and Tom Wetmore right now is 8th. The only driver inside the playoffs who is behind him right now in position is Ross Cato, who's in 10th. First, second, 4th, 5th, and from then on back, you're also going to see 6th, 8th, and 10th. Those are your drivers who are still inside of the playoff picture, and right now, it is the penultimate spot for Tom Wetmore, which he does not want to be in. Almost every of his competitors are up ahead, and without some bonus points, Wetmore is going to be in some big trouble, and he'll have to pull out a great run to finish this night off. But 38 laps in of 134, Seth Noel is driving away and finds himself leading by over a second. Don Stevenson in the runner-up spot, and Alan Dobbs then in 3rd. Caitlin Height going to be 4th with Jacob Fife then in 5th. Sam Nito's then going to be right there as well. And looks like Sam's going to drop down low on Jacob. Number 2 machine trying to make a few more spots up, and just like that, he'll get it on Jacob Fife. Fife's going to be on the high side here with Cody Smith also racing him hard. So could it be a few more spots lost for Jacob Fife in this 36 team? The Pro Powder and Paint Chevrolet sees one driver wiggle ahead of him. Sam Nito goes up high, bobbling up to the higher side of the track. Luckily, no wreck comes of it, but could have been troublesome if any more contact was made. Driver's going to alleviate the issue, keep it green. So far, so good. 40 laps in of 134. No yellow flags leading up to our first and only scheduled caution of the day. And looking back in front, still no signs of drivers coming down a pit road early. For Cody Smith, he opted to do so to split up the stage. Now that is an unorthodox call compared to the rest of the drivers. Nobody else making that decision just yet. And it looks like the first pit stop is going to be far ahead of its time. We'll see whether or not drivers are going to have to come down a pit road under our stage break if they try to go longer. But I do believe that it should be around the lap 55 mark. We see guys coming down a pit road no matter what. The track is scorching. Track conditions are much different. Track temp and air temperature. 79 Fahrenheit in the air. The track temperature currently is 123 Fahrenheit. So it is blistering here in Kentucky. These tracks, they get warm fast, and we're going at speeds of over 170 miles an hour lap after lap. Tires will get scorched up. You have to be very careful with how you use the tires, because if you don't treat them right, they will not be coming back. If you burn up the tires, doesn't matter if it's you burn up one, you burn up two, you burn them all up, it will feel much worse inside the car. You'll have much less control of where you want to go. Too tight, too loose, you drive it a bit too far into a corner, drive it too little into a corner. You'll feel these differences depending on what tires you burn up. Right front, left front, the rears as well, they all make an impact. So managing tires is a huge deal, and take a look at the difference between the high side and the low side here. New tires for Cody Smith, old tires for Seth Noel, and up on the higher side, Cody Smith makes it by easily. He does not have to be in the preferred group to make it around your current race leader. Now, Smith back on the lead lap, finds himself in 16th as he puts himself back in position to go at it once again with your leaders. Nicholas Ward, who got back on the track just 5 laps ago, disconnects due to upload packet loss yet again. just like that, the leaders keep going, and he'll be 31 laps down as we speak. 44 laps in out of 134 here in the Racing for Breast Cancer 200 doubleheader in FTN. So if you do enjoy the action, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. All support is greatly appreciated, and we've had a fantastic 23 with each and every one of you. 2023, that is. We've gone more than 23 races deep, 27 as a matter of fact now, and with Seth Well leading the way, he's looking to chase another victory to put himself in a firm position to go for the Final Four to end off this campaign. The Octane Series has seen clean, hard racing all season long, and you'll see the biggest moments in the middle of the pack right now. Tom Wetmore, Jacob Fife, Colin Gidman all going at it. Looks like Wetmore's going to get a spot back on that 0-4. Colin Gidman going to give him that spot, and now Jacob Fife also having some trouble as he fades back a bit further from Caitlin Height. Now Fife's going to see the 51 right behind him in his rearview mirror. While Jacob Fife still finds himself within arm's reach of Tom Wetmore, there is pressure surrounding this number 36 team, not only for the high side, but from the low. Colin Gidman going to be right there in the 0-4. You see him make it by. Down at the bottom, you'll see Ross Cato also going to be there. And the number 12 machine comes out of nowhere to take his Fast Forward Esports Ford Mustang into the mix to get another spot. Now into 8th to take a spot as soon as he can. Jacob Fife going to lose some time, and it'll put him at a big disadvantage as he now finds himself the lowest in position of any driver inside the playoffs, 9th. Might sound like a good run, but with all of your competitors ahead of you, you cannot afford to be the last man in the playoffs. Jacob Fife, though, is going to lose that time and lose it quick. Now going to be position number 9 after the battles. Like that, Jacob Fife fades back to the final single digit with Guillermo Alvarez also coming through. 83 machine comes down to the bottom side and will make it around if he can get that run off the corner. Side by side at the stripe, they were not going to be. Jacob Fife gets a good enough run to hold on, but 48 laps in, he's hoping for that caution any day now here. He's gone this far, but it looks like it won't be far enough for Guillermo Alvarez not to have room, as Seth Well now leads by over a second. The number 9 machine out in front by 1.3 on the dot. Don Stevenson then going to be the runner-up driver in the number 47. Alan Dobbs is then in 3rd. Sam Nito's going to be 4th, and Caitlin Height will then be in 5th. Tom Wetmore is going to be 6th on the order in the number 51, and Colin Gidman is then going to be position number 7 with Ross Cato 8th, and then Jacob Fife 9th. To round out your top 10, it's still going to be Guillermo Alvarez here, and 49 laps in. That looks like the way it'll stay before our first caution of the night flies. Clean through 49 laps of racing, coming out of lap number 50. The Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet will lead us down yet again to take us to lap number 50 indeed. Now just about 5 laps away from your stage break, Stevenson remains firmly in 2nd. But there's still contention with the remainder of the pack. Looking back at Colin Gidman, Tom Wetmore, Ross Cato, while they got away from Jacob Fife, they're still all amongst each other and could keep fighting for position before it's all said and done. Gidman's still going to remain on the back bumper here of Tom Wetmore. The Tube Tech Chevrolet tries to get away, but that time by, it was Gidman a 1/10 of a second quicker than that of Tom Wetmore. Tom finds himself in 6th here, so not a terrible position to be in, knowing that right now he finds himself 4th of the competitors inside of the playoff picture if he can just keep it going. And now it's going to be pushed down to 5th as we see it's going to be Seth Well, Don Stevenson, Sam Nito, and Caitlin Height ahead of him. So 5th is not a terrible way to go through given all the bonus points he had from the regular season. But if he can get one more spot and get those extra points while being ahead of at least half of the playoff field, it will be that much better for his chances. He's still got Colin Gidman pressuring though to take away extra points regardless, and if these two race each other, there's still going to be also Ross Cato to worry about, because Ross is on the back bumper of the both of them and won't give up at the same time. As the field continues to come through lap after lap, one other driver going to be coming down to pit road. That's going to be Jorge Canales sacrificing his finish here in the stage to make it in. 51 laps in, out of 134. First pit stop for the number 84 team. And the Gambler is going to be to come down to pit road right now as opposed to waiting for the yellow flag cycle and getting that minor advantage. It might not be a big deal in terms of the lap count, but track position could be make or break for the 84 team. And they're looking to be one step ahead by the time they get back into the green flag swing of things. Now you'll see Don Stevenson is about 1.2 seconds away. That time by 15 thousandths of a second slower than your race leader. The difference is marginal. Lap after lap. It's so close to these drivers, first and second. Their times are almost indiscernible from one another. And right now with the gap they have amongst the top two, it's very slim. If these laps keep going dead even, there won't be much of change, with 1 second now being the gap between Stevenson and Seth Well. Seth just has to hold on as the white flag is out for your first stage of the day, and it's going to be Seth Well looking to make a big-time points run in Kentucky, hoping to get those bonus points to win the stage as they'll come through this time by. Looks like the green and checkered will flaw all the same, and the caution will come out very soon. Stage win for the driver of the number 9 machine. Seth Well will get it done and win the stage here from the Kentucky Speedway. And looking further back, you'll see Gidman comes around 7th. It's Ross Cato 8th, Guillermo Alvarez 9th, and as Alan Rawell will get the final stage point, the caution will fly. Yellow flag is out for your first caution of the day. Stage break, the one and only, and Seth Well will lead us through our first run of the night. Green, clean all the way, and it's going to be the number 9 who has that first position ahead of Don Stevenson and Alan Dobbs in 3rd. And with his first run out of the way, now we're going to see our first pit cycle of the night. First, of course, the number 9 machine, and it looks like still 16 drivers with us here as the iRacing official pace car will back the field down, and we're set up for our first run down to pit road. Already several drivers have come in. Cody Smith, Jorge Canales, both coming in recently. Nicholas Ward and John Steele coming down earlier in the going, but those two drivers no longer racing with us here, so strategy being so different already for a very small portion of the field means most drivers have no reason not to come down to pit road here and now. Seth Well is set to lead them down to pit road this time by. The iRacing official pace car will let them drop in, and just like that, pace car going to see the field go down low. First pit stops of the day here in Kentucky, and it's going to be Seth Well and Don Stevenson leading them in to get set for another run of green flag action. As the pack comes by this time through, you'll see it's going to be almost the entirety of this group right now. The only driver who's not going to be with us on pit road, it looks to be Jorge Canales, who's going to be now getting a lap back. Eric McFarland's the final of which to come in, and it looks like for every other driver, pit road will be the place to be indeed. Seth Wells is going to be the man who comes in first, but with this pit strategy in mind, can he leave with the lead? As we see our pit exit camera still going to be empty right now. 4 tires and fuel is the move, and it looks like Seth Well will beat Alan Dobbs, Don Stevenson, Sam Nito, Caitlin Height, Colin Gibbon, Tom Wetmore, Ross Cato, and Guillermo Alvarez out, with Jacob Fife rounding out the top 10 with Cody Smith, Alan Rawell, and then Kyle Cooper, then in 13th. That is your first group of drivers out. Looks like it's going to be Randy Fiash coming out through, but just like that, pit road already empty after a quick pit cycle, and your stage winner back on the way. 57 laps in of 134. Seth Well is the man out in front, and the number 9 machine will lead the field as we're now under our first caution of the night. Let's get a word with your stage winner here and now as he finds himself leading once again, starting, of course, up in the front of the field. Seth Well has kept it there, got the race lead, and since then was able to bring home the first and only stage win of the night. For the number 9 team, already a stage win out the way, and also getting back on the lead of the driving entirely. Pit road went well as well, and it looks like everything's going smooth for this number 9 crew leading the way so far. How you feeling?
Felt pretty good on that first run. Looked like a couple people had really good long run that they sort of reeling it back in, so we'll see how that works out on this next run. But I mean, feel good. Got a stage win. It's good points at the worst. if we don't win tonight. So, I mean, so far so good.
And so far, getting all the bonus points in the stage, a big deal, of course, with leading laps as well. And with what we've seen, a lot of green flag racing, no signs for caution to this point. Do you expect a bit more green flag action when we get back at it?
I have a feeling we're going to have some cautions. We normally have a pretty green on the first run, and then the second run typically comes down to yellow. So, wouldn't be shocked if we had one and it came down to some tire lottery, but we'll see how it plays out.
And we see, of course, the tires a limit of only 4 sets tonight. That's not the smallest of limits, of course, but if we see yellow flags, we'll see more drivers coming through than a green flag run. When it comes to tires, how big has the difference been over a long run compared to, of course, the short runs where drivers seem to be all quick? To be a big difference. So how's it been for you managing the tires as the run goes on?
I mean, it felt like a big deal in the first run after about 20 to 25. I don't know how far back I fell, but I felt like I fell back to like 10th, 8th, somewhere in there. And we just slowly peeled back through the pack. And then once we got behind Don, we were just kind of slowly, inch by inch, catching back up to him. And eventually got to the lead, and then we just started running our own pace.
Running at the pace that keeps this 9 team in the lead with only a 1 lap to go in the pacing. Any final thoughts before we get back to it?
Hopefully this goes green the whole way, get some green flag stops, and you can have a good time calling.
And there we have it, Seth Well leading the way right now as we come back from our first stage break, winning the first stage and only of the day. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate it, David.
With, of course, Seth on the way, the number 9 machine gets back into the racing mind state. It's, of course, going to be all about confidence and understanding what's got to be done from here on out. The first run of the day out of the way, 59 laps instead of 134. We're getting even closer to our halfway point in the racing tonight. So if you made it this far, which most of the field has, there's still a lot of work to do. There's a lot of different points in the race where you got to understand where you are as a driver, your position, how far you gone, the damage. No issues for damage tonight. Very little contact between drivers. It's been a clean first run leading into what is next. And as we come through for what will be our first restart of the night, the number 9 machine has Alan Dobbs right beside him and Don Stevenson right behind him. One playoff spoiler inside our top 5 right now. Rest of your drivers inside of that top 5 are all labeled in blue. iRacing official pace car comes down to pit road, this time by with a huge jump for the number 9 team. Green flag is out, and he's going to beat us to the punch here. Green flag's on her way yet again. It's going to be a huge start for the number 9 of Seth Well getting out on the way, and he's been able to time that restart perfectly every time he's up there. But that looked like he had a huge jump on everyone else now. It looks like he's got himself a firm lead, a half a second. Sam Nito going to be then in the second spot with Don Stevenson now third. Alan Dobbs is going to be fourth, and Galen Gidman is now in fifth. Position number 6 going to be occupied by Caitlin Height with Tom Wetmore now in 7th. Ross Cato is going to be 8th with Jacob Fife in the 9th spot, and Cody Smith rounding out that top 10. 11 is going to be Alan Rowell. 12 is Eric McFarland, and right now it's going to be single file in the back of the field, save for Jorge Canales and Kyle Cooper. They'll battle side by side, but up in front it's even closer. Bit of a pack forming already with Gidman, Caitlin Height, Tom Wetmore as well. Alan Dobbs in it too, but look at this, a new race leader, and just like that, there's a new man at the top of the charts. It's going to be Sam Nito taking the race lead, and all of a sudden with another driver at the top of the board, it's going to be the number 2 getting his first laps led of the day. Back and forth we've seen in the earlier runs here at Kentucky. Those first few laps, drivers are sorting themselves out. Some drivers have a burst of short run speed. Others are much better in that long run. And if you have that advantage in the short run, you try to use it knowing what's going to happen later in the going. Now, 0.2 of a second already separate your top 2 drivers. Tom Wetmore going to fade back into third a bit more so, and Don Stevenson going to be then in 4th. Caitlin Height's going to be 5th with Alan Dobbs 6th, and Galen Gidman then 7th. Jacob Fife is 8th, and Ross Cato is then in 9th 14th, 63 in at 134, and that's the way it's gone to this point. Sam Nito's got the advantage though, and Seth Well is now in second as they make it around nearly at the halfway marker. Green flag saved for our stage break, and we're settling in for another long haul here in Kentucky. Side by side once again though, it's going to be Ross Cato and Cody Smith. And for Ross Cato, this night has not gone the way he's planned in the slightest. Now, of the drivers inside the playoffs, he finds himself last, of which your entirety of the top 5 is composed of playoff drivers. Then there's Jacob Fife in 7th, and now Ross Cato in 10th. So not only does he find himself behind all his contemporaries, he's behind multiple playoff spoilers as well. And that's a troublesome position to be in. Nancy Wetmore in the chat room rooting for Tom Wetmore, great to have you stopping by. Tom finds himself now in 3rd and is looking the best he has all night long from 15th on the grid. Now I'm going to be inside of the podium places, and he's going to get some defense from the number 9 machine. Tech Chevrolet looking for the 2nd spot, goes up top, and now is a shot on the higher side. And Tom Wetmore, just like that, going to be able to make it by. The apron is clean. No other driver going to get that bottom groove, at least for the time being. Wetmore takes a spot and is now going to be there inside position number 2. 66 laps in of 134, and the drivers continue to roll around the track. And with all this being said, single file still going to be the norm up in the top 2 places. Now, every other driver, they've been all trying to get at it side by side, maybe even 3 wide if they can make it work. But Kentucky is a very tricky track to work with. 66 laps in, and while there's a lot of racing room, or so it seems, not a lot of it is feasible, especially down the straightaways where runs can be made for multiple wide racing. Now, 2 wide is going to be common all throughout, but anything more so takes an awful lot of speed. Someone's got to be blatantly slower than you for you to make that happen, and so far everyone's on a relatively similar level of pace. 67 laps in of 134. Now we see another pass from Jacob Fife to get up into 5th. Stevenson fades back 6th. Golan Gibbon is now in 7th, and this is 8th spot now held by Alan Dobbs. Cody Smith is 9th to round out the single digits. And just like that, we're side by side again, and this is bad news for Ross Cato. Kyle Cooper makes it by and puts himself now inside the top 10, and Ross continues to fade back that much more. For a driver who's inside the playoffs, not being inside the top 10 right now is the worst possible scenario, and he's going to see some trouble as Guillermo Alvarez goes down low at the same time. Now Cato is going to find himself in the 12th spot and is going to be hustled for 13th. It looks like Ross Cato has no choice but to keep it up top and let the drivers get by him as he tries to restore his run. 69 laps in, it has not been a nice run for Ross Cato, but Sam Neill and Tom Wetmore now battle for the race lead as we find ourselves at the halfway point and then some. 66 laps to go, and Sam Neill leads us with Tom Wetmore then in the 2nd position, Seth Well then in 3rd. It'll be Caitlin Height in 4th, and Jacob Fife then in 5th. It's going to be 6th, occupied now by Don Stevenson, Golan Gidman in 7th, and Alan Dobbs then in 8th. Cody Smith is going to be 9th on the order, the number 18, and Kyle Cooper is then in 10th. But for of course, this number 18 of Cody Smith, Next Level Racing, the premier partner of the Integrity Racing League, is going to come into much more focus as the final weeks go on. Next Level Racing providing the grand prize for the Octane Series 2023 season, the biggest grand prize in Integrity Racing League history, a sim rig worth $2,000 courtesy of Next Level Racing. For dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best, make sure to visit nextlevelracing.com for all information about how you can take your sim racing game to the next level. For sim racing hardware that doesn't matter if you're on one sim or another, iRacing, Assetto Corsa, R-Factor, what racing discipline you're into, stock cars, open wheel, rallying, dirt, it does not matter. If you have interest in sim racing and taking your passion to the next level, look no further than nextlevelracing.com. We'll bring you your first promotional break of the day, courtesy of the official premier partner of the Integrity Racing League, nextlevelracing.com. And coming back now with 61 laps remaining, it is going to be Tom Wetmore taking the race lead as we're back from the Kentucky Speedway in the Racing for Breast Cancer 200. The two-tech Chevrolet takes the top spot. Sam Nito going to be second, and Seth Well now going to be third. And it looks like the former reign of dominance from our stage winner not going to be coming to fruition, at least just yet. 17 laps into this pit run, so about 15-odd laps of green flag racing, and Wetmore's been able to break out quite big, now taking the top spot away 75 laps through. And with crunch time coming very, very soon, this is exactly what Tom Wetmore needs to get his season back on the road. Looking for win number 6 on the championship schedule. He's found himself with 5th, of course, being the most recent at Bristol, but ever since then been on a bit of a cold streak. The most races in between a win for Wetmore since our summer break. So with Tom now back on the way, he's looking for that 6th win to push it over the edge and all but lock him into the Final Four. Knowing how good he's been all season long, anything short of a Final Four appearance might just be a disappointment. Now Wetmore, of course, not making every race this season, so he could have had a shot at even more victories, but I'm sure he's not going to be happy if that number 51 doesn't end up as one of the Final Four contestants for the championship. He has been head and shoulders above of almost every driver all throughout the season. Very few have been able to rival this 51 all season long, and for Wetmore, he knows that it would be a great opportunity tonight to make it through and get it done in Kentucky, a track that is not often raced at. If drivers don't have an experience at the track, it's harder for them to have that advantage. So right now, Wetmore in even territory finds himself the leader, but Sam Nito's right there and might bring himself back into contention at the same time. Don't count out Caitlin Height either, because Caitlin's been on a bit of a hot streak herself, missing the first round of the round of 12, the first race that is, and it's not looking good if you look at it from that perspective. But then she goes back to Talladega, wins the race in a photo finish, and then comes through third at the Charlotte Roval. So she was able to flip the entirety of the playoff picture around on just one finish. And Caitlin Height, with that ability, making herself a much more feared competitor, making it when it matters most. It looks like when she was in the earlier stage of the season, winning at Auto Club with 4th, and now it looks like that same number 11 is back in action, missing for quite a few races, but when it matters the most indeed, coming in clutch, it's going to be Caitlin Height scored 3rd, and Seth Well now in 4th. 5th going to be held by Jacob Fife and Don Stevenson, then going to be 6th. It's Alan Dobbs 7th, and you can see after the 7th driver in Dobbs, there's a bit more of a separation. Guillermo Alvarez then going to be 8th with Cody Smith in 9th. Galen Gidman's going to be 10th, and Roy Canales is then in 11th. Kyle Cooper is going to be 12th, and then Ross Cato is in 13th. And Ross Cato, this is troublesome because Randy Fiash is coming up on his back bumper, and he knows he cannot afford to lose any more positions. It is not at all the night he's been hoping for, and it looks like this number 12 team is fading back more and more on pace as the racing continues. Now, Ross Cato's had many good runs this season. He was on a bit of a hot streak when we came back from our summer break. Seemed like he'd have a podium every night we went at it. 2nd place, 3rd place, 2nd place, 3rd place, back and forth and back and forth, but was never able to get that first win in all of the hot streak racing that he put together. And now that might be coming back to bite him, because a win gives him more extra points than anything else. And for Ross Cato, he knows that if he had a bit of a buffer to sit on, he would not have to stress about this race as much, because you know what's next on the calendar? Martinsville, the paperclip. So if you are stressing right now, imagine how it's going to be like as we head back to a short track, half a mile, beating and banging. Luckily, these next-gen machines, they can handle a bit of bumping, but it is going to be tricky if you don't master the racing tonight. You're going to be in a much worse situation, and it's going to be a hole to dig out of, and a track like Martinsville can put you even further inside that hole. There's a reason that Martinsville is so exciting, as it's one of the final races in the Cup Series season in NASCAR, and that race always generates excitement with very few drivers knowing what's going to happen going in. The Ross Chastain incident last season, the Hail Melon they call it, one of the most iconic moments in the past decade. So if we've seen that in the real world, we're in for one hell of a show when we go back into virtual space in just 1 week's time. Big pack generating now with Jacob Fife, Caitlin Height, Seth Well, Don Stevenson all coming together, and 83 laps in, it looks like another big bundle forming with 52 laps left on the day. as we take a look inside one of these cockpits, we'll take a look inside the Don Stevenson number 47 defending winner road coursing. It was a great run for Don Stevenson. Looked like a ringer out there with how much success he had, leading over 50 laps on the day. And we're taking a look around the cockpit here for the number 47. You'll see very minute hand movements as we tilt our angle right here to the steering wheel. Fifth gear, not a lot of movement on the tachometer, but he does shift it down to fourth to keep it in the 7,000 rev a minute range. And you'll see Alan Dobbs is coming up on the inside line here, and Dobbs might be able to make something happen with a bit of a run down low. Dobbs is still there, but not yet side by side, door to door. Now Dobbs is going to be right within the arm's reach of another spot, but he's going to be held on the low side by Don Stevenson. Alan Dobbs is going to be there, and Caitlin Height is right ahead too. Caitlin holds on to the fifth spot right now. Stevenson chasing another top five to make it 2 in a row, and I'm sure that right now with the expectations coming in from Charlotte, a top five would be the least that Don Stevenson will settle for. A podium might just be the goal for tonight. Winning at Charlotte is a great situation to be in. Of course, coming off a victory with all that momentum, but at the same time, Stevenson needed that victory. It was going to be a walk-off victory regardless of scenario, so the 47 does not come in with all too many bonus points to sit on, even after a tremendous race win just a week ago. He needs a little bit more on the season to get firmly inside contention for the final 4 spots, and with 49 laps to go, he's still got a ways to pass. As you can see now, Tom Wetmore facing a bit more pressure, 86 in. Sam Nito then going to be in the 2nd spot, Seth Well then going to be 3rd, and Jacob Fife is in 4th, with Caitlin Height position number 5. And as they come around to the start-finish line all over again, Tom Wetmore drops down to the apron to make a block, but that's not going to pay off for long as Sam Nito finds the gap down low. Now Sam's going to take it down to the bottom side with more room than ever before. Wetmore gives in, and the low side being compromised for just one turn will change almost everything, but Tom Wetmore defends nicely, puts himself back in front, and now it's going to be Seth Well and Sam Nito going at it side by side amongst their own battle for the 2nd position. 2nd place nearly going to be taken away right there, but luckily nothing comes of it for Sam Nito's sake. Seth Well is still there though, and if he hopes to get it back, he'll charge up that run and go for it once again. Easier said than done though, as Sam Nito goes up high for the lead, and a bit of a crossover maneuver as Tom Wetmore now finds himself getting that lead back on the bottom side. Tom Wetmore down low, gets it for a brief moment, goes up high again. It's a back and forth game, and now Sam Nito's got it ahead by just over a 10th and a half. And looking now from the rear view perspective of Sam Nito's number 2 machine, you're going to see right there the Tube Tech Chevrolet. Tom Wetmore still going to be within arm's reach, but now it's going to be Seth Well working down to the bottom side. Seth Well trying to fight for that 2nd spot for his own causes, and now has himself within arm's reach of the runner-up spot. And with 46 laps to go, podium only separate now by just about a quarter of a second. Sam Nito leads the way, Tom Wetmore then 2nd, and then indeed Seth Well going to be in 3rd. Jacob Fife going to be 4th, Caitlin Height then 5th, and Alan Dobbs in 6th, and that's the way they run, at least for the time being. 45 laps to go, 90 laps of racing, only one caution, your stage caution on the day. That's the only time we saw the yellow flag fly. Ever since then, green flag, and Seth Well gets very close to the race lead again. It's beating and banging back and forth, and Kentucky already giving us some close racing, and we're still not yet at the final lap, so it looks like now multiple drivers in contention. How about Jacob Fife taking it down low? Jacob finds himself now in position. 36 machine going for a podium spot, but not if Tom Wetmore defends on the top side. Wetmore keeps it high. Jacob slots back in, bumps the 51 through, but Jacob Fife loses more time as a result and has to fade up to the top of the track to get things going again. Now to claw back on the number 11 of Caitlin Height. He'll drop down low. It's going to be Caitlin Height staying up top. She has no choice now. Apron used by Fife. He gets by, and another driver down to pit road. First pit stop of the day after our caution. Alan Dobbs makes it in. 43 laps to go. He will split up the sector and make it through just like that. first competitive stop in Stage 2, Alan Dobbs makes it in first, 92 laps in of 134. And now with pit stops back in motion, drivers going to have to wonder whether or not they have to come in early, go late. Will the undercut be preferred? Will it be best to go long? Undercuts and overcuts become a bit more part of the strategy now. And we saw these drivers running so well under green, but this is when a wrench is thrown in the equation for some of these drivers who might not be the best at green flag pit stops. Now we've seen a very, very large amount of these drivers are proficient in pit stops, but there can still be a mistake even if you are well versed in making it down a pit road under green. We've seen spins, we've seen wrecks beforehand, and hopefully we don't see that again. But now, with all that's on the line, the pressure is mounting, and with 41 laps to go, Nito, Noel, Wetmore, first, second, and third, they're not only fighting for a race win, they're fighting for a chance to punch that ticket early and drive into the Final Four without a care in the world. Preparing for the season finale, knowing you'll be in it, is that much more of an advantage as opposed to fighting and clawing until the day it comes. So if you can get that advantage here now, win the first race of the round of 8, effectively lock your way in. 40 laps to go. It would be a miracle for Sam Nito or Seth Well, Tom Wetmore, Jacob Bunt, Caitlin Height, and Don Stevenson, first through sixth, are all still eligible for the championship victory. That is an incredible symbol of the competition and how it truly is the best of the best going at it to this point. Your top 5 lined up in blue. 5th is going to be Caitlin Height. 6th is Stevenson. 8th is Ross Cato. And now, with that separation being so minor, Don Stevenson opts to come down to pit road, the second man in, coming through early. He will bring nobody else with him, save for Garland Gidman. But Gidman makes it in a bit further after. So just like that, 2 more drivers come down to pit road, and just like that, it's Sam Nito from Seth Nuella, Tom Wetmore 3rd, Jacob by 4th, Caitlin Height 5th, and Guillermo Alvarez then in 6th. Ross Cato is going to be 7th, and right now it's going to be Cody Smith for Next Level Racing, then in 8th. And for Next Level Racing, once again, the official associate of the Integrity Racing League for high-quality sim racing performance products since 2009. Next Level Racing has been the one-stop shop for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. High quality, high performance for a price you can't beat. Check out Next Level Racing for more information after we bring you your second promotional message of the day, courtesy of our friends at nextlevelracing.com. And coming back now with 36 laps remaining, pit cycle is on the way, and it's going to be another set of drivers coming in. Jacob Bunt, Kyle Cooper, Randy Fiash, Tom Wetmore, all going to be moving in and out of pit road, and it's going to be a big-time show as they come down to their pit stalls. This is the most important stop of the race, the money stop, as they say, and it's a now or never mentality. If you want to make something happen with your strategy, this is the time to do it. Sam Nito leads alone, as you'll see now. Seth Well, Caitlin Height, Guillermo Alvarez, Ross Cato, all coming in together, and just like that, another bundle of drivers make it in as one, and it's now going to be only one more driver leaving himself alone up in front of the field. Sam Nito, with 43 laps on his pit stint, finds himself alone. Nobody else out there with him, and he'll have to come down to pit road, this time by backing it down to the speed of 110 miles an hour. It's going to be Sam Nito down and in, and another driver set to cycle up to your race lead. Now look at the timing and scoring. It might just be Cody Smith, but that is to be determined here as drivers are flying by the start-finish line. Seth Well gets back on the way and now making it through pit exit. It's going to be one of the slower ones in the series, and he's going to have that inside line advantage to cut down the distance and work it down to the bottom, then get that momentum, and Don Stevenson will just be able to eke out an advantage. Cody Smith, though, now going to be scored as your effective race leader. New man on top. It is going to be Cody Smith leading by just over 2 seconds from Don Stevenson, and at the line it'll show you new man to the board. Top spot, Cody Smith with Don Stevenson then second. And all of a sudden, there's going to be a change in places. Cody Smith is going to find himself at the top of the board. Tom Wetmore, Don Stevenson, Jacob Fife. You'll see Ross Cato and Seth Well now there. Big jump up for Ross Cato to get into the 6th spot here ahead of Caitlin Height and Sam Nito. So might be able to recover a few pieces from what's been an overall challenging run for this 12 crew, who have been most often the slowest of those inside of the round of 8 tonight. Now that's not, of course, a terrible mark overall. Of course, he's been inside the top 10 and battling lap after lap to stay there, but with all the drivers ahead of him being inside the playoffs too, he cannot afford to fade back any further. If he's going to be in 6th right now, he'll hope to stay in 6th until the race is indeed complete. And now for Cody Smith, he's going to stay where he is until the job is done. He might not be inside of the round of 8 himself, but he's looking to spoil the show with Tom Wetmore looking down to the bottom side and taking the playoff lead. Now Wetmore's got it in 2nd with Jacob Fife down low looking for 3rd. Wetmore's going to block the both of them, go up high, and keep himself right in the company of his competitors. Jacob Fife going to be there in 3rd, Don Stevenson in 4th, and it looks like now it's going to be Seth Well in the 5th position, Ross Cato position number 6. Caitlin Height is 7th with Sam Nito 8th and Guillermo Alvarez in 9th. Donald Gibbon is 10th, and Kyle Cooper is 11th right now. As you look further back, top 10 going to be the bigger cluster. Then it's going to be Cooper and Alan Rodwell further back. Rodwell is going to be in 12th, and Jorge Canales is now in 13th, as Randy Fiash finds himself position number 14. Eric McFarland's the final man on the lead lap right now in that number 33. Alan Dobbs is also going to be there, 16th, 1 lap down. Strategy so far not playing out well for this 05, as you'll see Cody Smith leading with only 31 laps to go. It's been a clean race to this point so far, no trouble in Kentucky, and while Cody Smith has a huge advantage right now, new tires for everyone else behind him will mean that sooner than later it's going to be drivers clawing back up that number 18, and his time will be up before the checkered flag falls. Now, that we're saying that based on what we've seen all throughout the season, but never say never about a driver on older tires. Last night in the Integrity Ignite Series, Justin Morton went through the entirety of a race at Monza without any pit stops, without any change to his tire or fuel. He faded back early in the race, made sure he did not have to come down to pit road, and thanks to some battling behind him between Thomas Bresci and Matthew Thunhorst, he eventually came through as the race winner without ever taking a pit stop on the day. It was a risky strategy, nobody else able to commit to it as well, and all of a sudden, we are not going to count out the driver who's on an older set of tire. It might seem like a big risk now, but it could be the winning move with 29 laps to go. That still remains to be seen as Cody Smith finds himself in his own zip code still, 2.7 seconds up on Wetmore in 2nd, Jacob Fife in 3rd, and then Don Stevenson in 4th. Look further back now and you'll see a battle side by side with Height and Ross Cato, not to mention Sam Nito right there too. Sam's going to drop down to the bottom side, and now Guillermo Alvarez might give him a bit of a push down the back straightaway, doesn't get the shove in just yet, and holds on either way. 83 machine down low. Ross Cato now can be funneled out again, and just what we mentioned, Ross Cato needs to hold on to those spots. He loses every one of which that he needed to have, and all of a sudden now Ross Cato is in 8th of the drivers inside the playoffs. He is 8th and last yet again in regards to his position. Not good at all with Cody Smith leading the field. 27 laps to go. There's a playoff spoiler up in front, and the Next Level Racing Chevrolet will lead the way now with time to spare. He's got 2.5 seconds up with 27 laps to go. The drivers behind him must be at least a 1/10 of a second faster each and every lap to pass Cody Smith as we come to lap 109. And as always here on FDM, again, Tango Paints presenting lap 109 to you. Now, for Tango Paints, another important announcement. They'll be the official primary partner of the Full Send SuperSpeedway Series, and they'll be helping us out with some further advancements in the FTN broadcasting crew. For paint schemes and liveries, you cannot beat the price off. Visit Tango Paints on Twitter for more information. It's that simple. Tango Paints, no spaces, and you can contact the entire Tango Paints team headed by Toll Owen for more information about the best iRacing paint schemes on the market. Represent your sim racing identity with Tango Paints today, and we'll bring you back with 25 laps to go after a brief promotional break, courtesy of our friends at Tango Paints on Twitter. And now, with 24 laps remaining, looking back at your battle for second here, Wetmore and Jacob Fife, far away from Cody Smith, at least for now, but they know that the big end goal is to get up to that race leader and then get to the battle. Save up your stuff, wait for when it matters the most, because if you can't grab that checkered flag, what's all the fighting for? The checkered flag means more to a guy like Wetmore or Fife than it does to Cody Smith, and while Cody Smith certainly wants it for his own reason, he's finds himself in another battle. He's fighting for just another victory on the track no matter what. He's not in the playoffs any longer, but your round of 8 drivers are still battling for a chance to get in the final 4 and lock themselves in to a fight for the title. With 23 laps to go, coming down to 22. As always, in FTN, we'll crank it up uninterrupted with the best camera partners on the iRacing market. TrackCams22.com provide over 100 track and car combinations for camera work. If you're a broadcaster or someone who works in iRacing photography, check out TrackCams22.com or Facebook.com/TrackCams for more information as we crank it up with 22 laps to go, courtesy of our friends at TrackCams22.com. with only 17 laps remaining, back from our TrackCams22.com, crank it up. It's still with Cody Smith out in front by a remarkable 2.5 seconds. It looks like so far this next level racing machine has not strayed from the best pace of the night. Finding himself out in front by such a wide margin here, he'd hoped to of course have this pace in the playoffs, but it looks like still coming alive late in the season. Cody Smith finding himself up in front by such a wide amount here in the Racing for Breast Cancer 200. It could be another chance to come down to victory lane, and with so far minimal gains from the rest of the field, everyone else is fighting for the top spot in the playoff picture, not overall for the race. Now you'll see it's going to be Sam Nito taking that overall spot from all the drivers in the round of 8 here. Nito from Jacob Fife, Seth Well, Tom Wetmore, all racing each other up and down the order, and with such a small spread between your playoff drivers, every spot matters that much more. Bonus points can only carry you so far. However you did in the previous round, it means only so much. And now with 2 seconds left between Cody Smith and Sam Nito, there might now be an opportunity to come through. This time by, Nito will take him down. He's got the pack in his hands. 14 laps to go, and he's still going to be there, leading the rest of the field. Fife is going to be now scored in third. Seth Wells scored in fourth. It's Tom Wetmore fifth, Caitlin Height in sixth, and Guillermo Alvarez then in seventh, and Ross Cato is then in eighth, with Don Stevenson position number 9. Kyle Cooper holds his own to the 10th spot, then Colin Gimman is 11th, and it's Alan Rawell 12th, and Jorge Canales in 13th. Looking back at those still on the lead lap, it's going to be Randy Fiash in the 14th spot, and in jeopardy of being put 1 lap down with 13 laps to go. It looks like Eric McFarland might go 1 lap down on pace here, as you can see, with a Baker doesn't do it. That number 33 machine is slowly but surely losing a bit more time than he'd like, and now sees Cody Smith right behind him. Cody is going to be right there looking for the pass. Closer and closer he will be to making it happen. Goes down low, and Cody Smith takes that spot. Now 1 lap down, Eric McFarland will be another driver in between Sam Nito and the rest of the field's chances at getting back to Cody Smith. Tom Wetmore is going to be now pushing up high with the number 9 of Seth Well. Seth goes top, Caitlin Height goes down low, and it's going to be Caitlin Height with the bottom side use. 12 laps remaining. She'll use that low side to her advantage to try to get a run on Tom Wetmore, but Wetmore still holds his own up on the high side indeed, and just like that, the 11 uses the grip strip down low to try to hold on to the bottom side and still get speed off the corner. That's one of the bigger things about characteristics in Kentucky. If you can manage that exit into the apron, you do much better going to turns 1 and 2. It all carries over lap after lap. Seamless transitions between each and every corner can make you that much faster off the exit of a turn and make the straightaways that much easier. So with the 11 laps remaining, Tom Wetmore in the 51 machine still holds his car up high, holds his head up high in the 5th spot, but he'd love to get a bit further up here. As you can see, Sam Nito making gains on not only Eric McFarland, but also Cody Smith. 1.5 seconds separate them with 10 laps to go, and Alan Dobbs is now set to go 2 laps down as the 05 puts himself up top and gets out of the way of your race leader. So many laps led, of course, by Cody Smith now. So many laps ran under green. Looks like there will not be any worry of seeing another caution. The rate things are going, and it's going to be the lap machines that might play a bigger role than anticipated. Eric McFarland goes up to the top of the wall, beats and bangs with just a bit to get out of the way of Sam Nito. Alan Dobbs is there, though, and plays a bit further down low on the track. Does not get in the way either, and you'll see now the number 2 goes through and makes it by not 1, but 2 lap machines in no time. Now Seth Logan, have to make it through the same way, has to go a bit further off his racing line, compromising himself, and with 9 laps to go, another driver makes it by the 2 lap machines. Jacob Fife coming through as well. Fife going to be down low. Tom Wetmore even lower. They'll have to make it through Dobbs first, and then it looks like a swerve from Jacob Fife to get out the way. Eric McFarland right thereafter. And with with Sam Nito getting away first from these lap machines. 8 laps to go, and Cody Smith has it up in front with only 1 second to spare. With our final Next Level Racing promotional break just ahead of us, we'll bring you back to the action before it's all too late here in Kentucky. Next Level Racing once again provides high-quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers. Since 2009, they've been the one-stop shop for all your sim racing equipment needs. We'll be right back after the final promotional break of the day with 7 laps to go here in Kentucky for Next Level Racing. Cody Smith leads and wants to take it home on top here in the first race of the round of 8. And with only 6 laps remaining, it is Cody Smith still leading the way for Next Level Racing as he comes across the stripe yet again. The final 5 laps are ahead of us here in the Racing for Breast Cancer 200 at the Kentucky Speedway. Cody Smith, Sam Nito, Seth Well, 1, 2, 3 for the drivers inside the podium, separate by 1 second. And Sam Nito has been making time lap after lap and now only finds himself a half second away from your leading driver. Half a second to make it through with 5 laps on the table. It's a small amount of time, but an even smaller distance, cutting through 2 seconds within the final 10 laps to this point, and now only 6 more miles to get it done. Taking a look on board with this number 2 machine, you'll see how much he gains inside the corners. Cody Smith continues to wiggle as he puts everything into each and every lap, but Sam Nito can cruise it a bit further out of the corners, go a bit wider, get some more speed out of it, and the corner entry is such a big difference. You'll see Cody Smith going to send himself deep to try to make more out of the exit. Sam Nito, though, just goes into the apex, and that's the way he uses it, but gets in the wall, and he goes way too deep and finds himself beaten and banging with a wall with 3 laps to go. Is that the difference between a win or a loss? Cody Smith might have just gotten this saving grace. 4/10 of a second with 3 laps left on the table, and it's going to be the old tires still holding on for Cody Smith, but Sam Nito is coming up at the same time. All of a sudden now with 3 laps to go, it might not be a certified deal for Cody Smith, but it's a huge deal to have that number 2 tap the wall at least once. 3/10 of a second with 2 laps to go, and Cody Smith still holds on. That time by 2/10 of a second slower on the lap, but it does not matter much longer. 2 laps to go for Cody Smith to try to hold on and win his first race of the playoffs. He's no longer inside championship contention, but wants to be the spoiler that gets it done regardless of his status. And for Sam Nito, looking to punch a ticket into our Final 4. He wants this win, and he knows he's within arm's reach. He can see the victory, and he can see the white flag this time by with 1 lap to go. The final lap in Kentucky sees Cody Smith ahead, but it might not be for much longer. Going through turns 1 and 2, it's now going to be Sam Nito going right up top. Cody Smith still has clean air, but will not be for much longer. Running down the back straightaway here in Kentucky, he finds himself up ahead, and now it's through the final 2 turns. Cody Smith dives it deep, goes for gold, and will go through the apex as necessary. Sam Nito, with a run to the end of the corner, will not have enough, and despite his status, Cody Smith will spoil the playoff contenders and win in the Racing for Breast Cancer 200. Kentucky sees Next Level Racing's number 18 rise to the top, and the strategy, it pays off. Smith will win and come on top here from the Kentucky Speedway. And for Cody Smith, even though he's not involved with the round of 8, he knows he's a race-winning driver, and he was able to hold on, strategy and all, to make it to the very end in one piece in the first position. Cody Smith going to be on his way to burn down the house. Let's catch up with your race winner and watch the celebration as Cody Smith begins to celebrate from Kentucky. And for Cody Smith, the number 18 machine parks to the start-finish line and finishes his burnout celebration with a drone camera following. The number 18 gets it done and will win from the Kentucky Speedway. Before we bring you your top 3 interviews, how's about we take a look at your overall race results on the day and find out how it went here from Kentucky in the first race of the round of 8. Cody Smith will come through and puts himself in the prime position to win, and he does just that, winning by just a tenth of a second over Sam Nito. Then the runner-up spot, Seth Well from pole position finishes 3rd, and Jacob Fife finds himself then in 4th. Going to be Caitlin Height 5th and Tom Wentmore 6th, with Ross Cato 7th, Don Stevenson 8th, and Guillermo Alvarez in 9th, with Kyle Cooper position number 10. To round out the top 10, Kyle Cooper will be just ahead then of Golan Gimini 11th, Alan Rodwell 12th, 13th in Jorge Canales, and 14th in Randy Fiash, with Eric McFarland 15th, Alan Dom 16th, and Nicholas Ward position number 17. John Steele will be the 18th and final driver of the day, and just like that, another action-packed intermediate night, and Kentucky gives us a very close finish. Might not be a traditional photo finish, but that one went down to the wire and could have gone either way. No matter how you sliced it, it was strategy and close racing that gives us another thrilling finish to end off the first race of the round of 8. And how's about we bring in your current race winner, of course, the number 18 of Cody Smith brings it back to the top of the podium, and this number 18, strategy difference and all, able to make it work and getting it done in victory. Was not an easy ride, but it's just enough to hold on and gain the checkered flag here in Kentucky. How do you feel? And for Cody Smith winning in Kentucky, gotta see if you got a copy here. How you feeling?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now.
Gotcha. Yeah, it feels good to be talking to you again. After being eliminated from the playoffs last week, I figured I had nothing to lose this week. I pit in the first stage. I knew it probably wasn't enough laps for 4 tires to pan out in the first stage. I ended up a little farther back than I thought I would. At that point, I knew I probably wasn't going to be able to drive through the field and save the tires that I needed to. So I decided might as well try 2 tires. I knew if I could stay close enough, I would at least take the lead and see if we could hold them off. And it actually drove really well on 2 tires. I was pleasantly surprised about that.
And the strategy goal to take 2 here and get yourself out in front. You had a wide margin to work with, 3 seconds, and it looked like for the first half of that final run, you were able to keep it about 2.5 seconds. But then the leaders, who were, of course, in the playoffs here, they were clawing you back in, and it only became a tenth of a second by the final lap. How was it dealing with that pressure, with laps being clawed down, with so many drivers chasing you, 10th after 10th being lost?
Yeah, it was. It was stressful for sure. I guess I did bad math in my head. I thought when I took 2 tires, I'd be 6 or so seconds ahead. Ended up being, like you said, about 3. That I did not think was going to be enough. But the first half, 3/4 of the run, I was matching their time. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, now they have to beat me by 2/10 a lap to get there. And I knew Sam was coming once he got around. I believe it was Tom and Jacob back there. But yeah, I 2 more laps, I probably can't hold them off. It was not a lot of tire left there at the end, but glad just the right amount of laps. So happy to pull it off.
And just enough to hold on for a victory here, and a playoff spoiler finally pulls through and takes the checkered flag. Now, I know it's not the way you'd like to win it out of the playoff contention, but either way, still a few more races up next on the schedule. We're going to see short track action from Martinsville. So how do you feel about your chances heading back to the paperclip in the final races of the season just ahead?
Yeah, absolutely love Martinsville. Absolutely love Phoenix. That's why I was so disappointed to be eliminated last week. I knew if I got through the last round that I was eliminated in, I would have a good shot at qualifying for Phoenix and a good shot at winning Phoenix. It's probably my favorite track on the course, at least my best track on the course. So we're here to go for more wins. As you can see, I'm not Strategy's not out of the question. That's what we're going to try to do. If we don't have the speed, we'll try something. That's all we're here for is wins now at this point.
And trying something different gets this number 18, the checkered flag for Next Level Racing. Cody Smith pulls it through and will win here from the Kentucky Speedway. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, just thanks for coming out. Thanks for broadcasting. Thanks to all the admin team. Thanks to Next Level Racing for what they do for the league and coming on board. You guys have a good night.
There we have it. Cody Smith will find himself at victory lane here in the Racing for Breast Cancer 200 checkered flag in a thrilling finish from Kentucky. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Cody Smith on the move. You'll get your second place driver immediately after. Sam Nito in the number 2 hold on for the second spot on the day. And while not a victory, this number 2 team making major strides to further cement a chance at the Final Four. Second place on the day for the Sam Nito crew. Second place in the number 2 and an oh-so-close battle for the race win. How was it here from, of course, the Kentucky Speedway?
It was fun. I had a blast trying to chase down Cody there. He did a miraculous job on 2 tires. I can't even begin to express how good of a job he did on 2 tires.
And a tire strategy, the big difference, Cody taking the 2 to get out in front, and it looks like the rest of the field, of course, taking the traditional 4. You broke away from your playoff competitors, which is a big deal, and of course, keeping yourself ahead in the points race, but the checkered flag was, of course, that end goal. So how was it trying to claw back with such a small amount of time on the table to perhaps make a run at the win?
It was tricky. The first run, I kind of got caught racing some guys who were just eager to, burn their stuff up. So that first run, I'm glad it was long because it allowed me to get back up into the top 5, set me up for the second run. I wish the second run was longer, but we had 2 short stints. I don't know, probably 35 laps apiece. So I wanted to go 1 lap longer than everybody else, which I think Seth was the last to pit, so I wanted to go 1 lap longer than him. I knew I'd be able to use them to get up past them all. I just didn't count on Cody not being able to track a guy down on 2 tires. It's kind of embarrassing is not the right word, but man, he did a great job on 2 tires, didn't he?
And that was something we did not expect at all, to hold on with the 2 tires. But I'll tell you this much, it's a big deal to break away in the playoffs for your sake. Of course, a win didn't quite get there tonight, but still, the steps to the Final Four, they're now going to be a bit easier to go through the motions. Martinsville up next. It's always chaotic there, so getting a stable finish here is a great deal. But do you think you can pull it out a bit more and maybe find yourself winning at the paperclip?
I don't know. I've always had great hot lap speed at Martinsville, but I could never, ever, ever put a race together. I got new brake pedals. That's always been my issue there, is braking. So I'm hoping that's the difference. We'll see. I don't know.
Looking to make the difference to keep another championship hunt alive. Sam Nito second on the day here from Kentucky Speedway. Anything else you'd like to add after this race?
Thank you for putting on the broadcast. Thank Jacob for putting on the league. We had a good race tonight. No wrecks, so that was fun.
And there we have it. Second place on a caution-free day. Sam Nito, podium finish here in the Racing for Breast Cancer 200. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, you too.
But Sam on the move. One more driver inside your top 3 tonight. Seth Noel holds on for a podium finish, and after getting the bonus points, winning the stage and leading some laps, it's a 3rd place finish. And it looks like with the stage points in mind, getting the extra bonus in case you finished outside the top spot. 3rd in the day. How you feeling?
Oh, I feel okay as far as points go. I mean, like we were talking at the stage, we had good points for the stage, and then P3, second of the playoff guys, so I think we earned the most player points today for everyone in the playoffs, so we should be in a good spot heading into Homestead.
And solidifying that chance at the Final Four, you came into the round of 8 with a very firm position, so even if tonight didn't go the best way, you have a chance to fall back on it with the rest of the round. But this is exactly what you needed to put yourself in the spot to almost entirely lock up a Final Four position. So not much to say in that regard. How is it going for the win overall, though?
I mean, we kind of got stuck behind Jacob and Tom there for a little bit. Sam had a 1 lap pressure tires on us, so I knew I had to get past them before Sam got past me, and then once me and Sam were trying to chase down Cody there, we were both just running the same laps, just trying to chase him down, and try and get that win to lock in.
And locking it down for another run tonight, the paperclip up next on the tour, going from another intermediate to a very unpredictable short track. Martinsville up next in the round of 8. How do you feel heading there with all that's been done so far in the playoffs?
I think the next race is Homestead, then we go to Martinsville. But Homestead will be interesting. It's going to be edgy. I don't know what time of day it is, same as I said last week when we were heading into Kentucky. Probably going to be pretty tight and loose at the same time, so it's going to be a lot of tire saving and probably a lot of games being played. I'm just hoping it goes green again, because it was nice to have a green race there and just let everyone show their pace.
And with a nice green flag run in mind, Seth Well pulling through all green save for that stage break. Third place today, winning our one and only stage. Any final thoughts to wrap off this race?
Appreciate the broadcast, David. Appreciate the admins putting on the show every week. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here at the end. I know a couple people are probably a little stressed out as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. Just hoping nothing goes awry. Appreciate the boys in Nexus as always. That's all we got.
And there we have the number 9, Napa Know-How pulls through for a third place finish. Seth Well rounds to the podium here in Kentucky. Thank you for your time.
All right, appreciate it, David.
But Seth on the move, your final driver inside the top 3, the number 9 of Seth Well, with second place being Sam Nito and Cody Smith coming through with a tremendous strategy job to pull home the race win here in Kentucky. Now, looks like, checking back on our schedule, Martinsville is going to be moved back to the penultimate race of the season, which gives way to the Homestead Miami Speedway, as it will be the next round of the tour. 28 races in now. That's our next race. Round 28, we have made it so far in the season, and there's still a few more final things to find out. Who's going to win up next? Who makes it in the final 4? It's still almost entirely to be determined. And with how competitive this field has been, it won't be an easy ride for anyone, no matter where they stand tonight. Good finishes here might not mean anything come Martinsville. We'll see whether or not that's the case. We've got Homestead Miami in between. Got to thank y'all for watching live on FTN tonight. Been a fantastic doubleheader with River Page still broadcasting. If you're still with us right now, be sure to check out what's going to happen immediately after we end the broadcast feed. We'll send you directly to the Highline Racing League Truck Series there at the Magic Mile in New Hampshire. We'll send you there as soon as the feed disconnects on YouTube on our end. I've been David Kreutz, producing and commentating all the action tonight on FTN. A fantastic race as always. And tomorrow, FTN will have an off day, and we'll bring you back with the Iora Cup Series and the Highline Racing League, as they'll both be heading back to the Thursday doubleheader only on FTN. Gotta thank y'all for your time once again. If you did enjoy this stream, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel overall. It's the most direct way to support all we do on the network and continuing providing all these great drivers and leagues the support and viewership they deserve. From our studios to your homes, we hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation of the Racing for Breast Cancer 200 from the Kentucky Speedway, and we hope to see you all whenever we're live again on FTN. Thank y'all dearly for your time and support, and we hope to see you all whenever we're live again. Thank y'all again indeed, and hope you have a fantastic night.